we are really happy to have with us on the program, again, HITLAB Advisory Services Zone Innovation Manager Riley Fink. Dr. Fink's going to be interviewing and talking through AccurKardia, one of the HITLAB portfolio companies that we've tested. And again, they've done amazing on our evidence-based generation there. Riley's going to be interviewing Moin, who is the Chief Product Officer of AccurKardia. Handing it over to you, Riley.
Thank you, Stan, and it's a pleasure to welcome in Moin. So let's just start. Thanks for joining us, and go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself and maybe a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Riley. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Moin Hussaini. I'm the Chief Product Officer at AccurKardia. We are introducing AI-enabled, AI-powered technologies to streamline the interpretation of ECG and to leverage ECG as a biomarker for other non-arrhythmia conditions. And we're excited to have launched our first product here just a few months ago. And I'm excited to talk to you about that and how we're looking at the future of our portfolio and pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive right in there. So can you talk to me a little bit more about the technology itself and the expertise that AccurKardia leverages to address some of these challenges related to heart health? What types of advancements or solutions you have improved or introduced to improve diagnostics, monitoring, treatment, everything, all AccurKardia. Share it with us here today.
Absolutely, glad to. So our first product is called AccurECG. It is an automated ECG interpretation system. It was recently approved by the FDA. It's device agnostic and hosted in the cloud. What we can do for customers is to reduce cost, improve productivity for ECG interpretation, speed the time of diagnosis, and then improve the consistency and quality of the interpretation. So, rather than having dozens of technologists having to read over ECG readings, sometimes frequently overseas, we can enable them to process many more readings in a much faster period of time, sometimes on the order of minutes in return. So that's our first product. Our second is developing screening tools for non-arrhythmia conditions like cardiac amyloidosis, aortic stenosis, hyperkalemia. Cardiac amyloidosis and aortic stenosis are, for instance, diseases that are frequently underdiagnosed, and they require some more advanced modalities for detection. And an ECG is an easy, non-invasive way for potentially detecting those conditions. And we've done some testing on retrospective data to show that ECG can be a very useful screening tool for those difficult to identify conditions. And perhaps we can now address the underdiagnosis problem for those particular conditions. With hyperkalemia, it's one of the leading causes of death for patients with end-stage renal disease. It's essentially a condition where the elevated potassium in the blood, which results from the ineffective operation of the kidneys in the body, kidney failure, it causes potassium in the blood to rise and potentially fatal arrhythmia, causing sudden cardiac death, and frequently, in less severe instances, hospitalization. So we've developed an ECG-based tool that we hope will expand monitoring for these patients. And our long-term vision is to develop a version that works on a wearable where patients at home or outside of the clinical setting can be monitored. And then if they're trending in the wrong direction, they're heading towards acute hyperkalemia, then their treating physician can be notified, they can be notified, and then an intervention can be made before they have a hospitalization. So those are a few of the ways that we're looking to address cardiac care, and as well using ECG as a biomarker for lethal non-cardiac conditions.
Yeah, you touched a little bit about utilizing historical data in the training process. And so if I'm correct, you guys partnered with Mayo Clinic to look at the utilize the data for this training on arrhythmias and cardiac rhythm related issues. Can you talk about this collaboration and how it's helped to influence the development of the technology?
Absolutely. So AccurKardia is proud to be a member of the cohort 3 of Mayo Clinic Platform Accelerate program, and the Mayo Clinic is also a shareholder, has taken a stake in AccurKardia. We've used their enormous patient database to train and validate our algorithms. So they have millions of patients and ECGs from which we were able to draw on, dating back many years. So we've used and leveraged that rich data source to not only train but also validate our algorithms. Additionally, beyond the Mayo Clinic, we sought to validate our algorithms with other databases to ensure our products work across broad populations and to help ensure that patients of all backgrounds can be treated with our technologies.
And what are some of those challenges, looking at the ethical use of, making sure that your patient data is safe and secure? And what are some of the challenges you face, and how do you overcome those with utilizing such a mass and broad amount of data?
Absolutely. So certainly patient privacy and AI raise a lot of concerns, rightly so, regarding patient safety. And what we have done or strive to do is ensure that, number one, we work with de-identified data sets to ensure that patient privacy is protected. So we never use patient identifying information at all. Secondly, we only work with institutions that have proper patient consent policies. So patient data that we use has been consented for use in research purposes. And then lastly, when we undergo any sort of clinical study or validation, we have to go through an IRB process to ensure the ethical use of that data. So those are some of the controls in place that we've imposed on ourselves, and that the institutions we work with impose on us to ensure ethical use. Secondly, in terms of the use of the data, we make sure that we train on very large and diverse data sets so that we ensure that our technology is applicable across all patients of all backgrounds. Very famously, over the last few years, for instance, it was found that SpO2 pulse oximetry did not work as well on patients of color. And so learning from those lessons, we are making sure that our database, training database and validation database, covers people of all backgrounds. And then last but not least, with our technology, we're not seeking to replace clinicians, rather we're seeking to enable them. We're increasing their productivity, their speed, their consistency, reducing cost in the healthcare system, and we're enabling clinician decision support and facilitating disease screening for difficult to diagnose conditions. So in other words, we're not automating clinicians out of the process, we're enabling and empowering them.
Thank you. What a wonderful just story about how technology and inclusivity and equity can play such a big role in cardiac health. Thank you for sharing, and we certainly look forward to hearing more from AccurKardia, and hopefully we'll have you back on again and you can share more of your success stories.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak here.